Hey everyone, I figured I'd try to do another video here. Show just a little bit of my PC I've got. This might be a two-part thing. This is a folder I've created. It's been over the years. And I hadn't really added nothing to it in probably 15 years, 10 or 15 years, something like that. Well, this first thing I've got here, it probably ain't worth too much, but when I turned 21, I was going to Auburn for horticulture, and that January, right after my birthday, I went to Tampa for a 3-month internship at Busch Gardens. Well, spring training down there, and the Yankees are in Tampa. So on February here, they had Yankees Day. They have it every year down there since Tampa's a home of them spring. And Mickey Mantle just passed away the year before, towards the end of the year. And they had this, and I even kept the ticket. I think it's in pretty good shape for being from 96. But if you notice, it's only $4 to get in back then. And then they had, here's what the inside looked like. It had all the rules and regulations and everything. But then they had the lineup of who all was in that you could get autographs from. Now, there wasn't no such thing as taking a cell phone to get personal photos, so only way you could get a photo is those little rental Kodaks, and they didn't allow that back then. But if you'll notice some of the names here, some of the legends, Wade Boggs, Joe Torre. Wade Boggs was always one of my favorites when he was with the Red Sox, so even though he had a Yankees uniform on, I still wanted to get his autograph. And then there's Don Zimmer. I remember him with the Cubs. And then Matt Allen, he's the one that was with This Week in Baseball. Every time I hear his name, I always hear that. Then got Catfish Hunter. And then it shows that Reggie Jackson was there, but he didn't show up. Some scheduling conflict or something, so he didn't come. Well, they had a substitute they had just signed in the 95, end of 95. Tino Martinez took his place. Well, if you notice, I stood in the Wade Boggs line, and then I went over and I stood in the Catfish Hunter, and it took hours and hours to get autographs. But they were some of my favorite players and all. And just think, Derek Jeter was there in line 8, and I didn't even know who he was at that time. And if you'll notice, they had coaches, and they had batting practice and everything, and you could do all kinds of entertainment there. You could buy photos. That's where I bought a couple of photos. Some of them were given to me, and then I'll go ahead and I'll show you. Here's one of the autographs I got of Wade Boggs. He wasn't very friendly to everybody, but you had to kind of expect that with the thousands of people that he was meeting every second. And then one of the best, then I picked up a Dwight Gooden, but by the time I got done with the other two lines, it was too late to even try to go into his line. And then here's one of my favorites, Catfish Hunter. I think I got him the second after I got the Wade Boggs. Won't be nobody getting one of them again. Rest in peace. And then on the back here is another autograph I got of Nolan Ryan. I was into art pretty good, and I had sketched him a little thing of one of his Upper Deck baseball cards and sent it to him, and he sent me back this autographed little card he sent. Now I'm going to show you a little bit of the collection. It's just a mashup of all different things. You'll find You'll see baseball, football, basketball, even a little hockey in it. I just put everything together in it, and when I stopped collecting there, I just closed it up with everything in it. You can see what is in it. This is that lady that they called her the first lady of hockey. I thought it was kind of cool, so I ended up collecting some of her cards. Some of them aren't worth too much, but at the time they were real big rookies. Some of them were. I guess I'm kind of a collector of rookies more than anything. I know this Ted Williams card isn't worth too much, but how many times are you going to get a card with Ted Williams and Babe Ruth in it? This here is a Jason Giambi minor league card. I had somehow found some of the minor league cards at that time. You'll see quite a few Ken Griffey Jr.'s in here through the way. This here, you can't hardly tell what it is now, but it's a Barry Sanders Game Breakers. It's kind of faded over the years. I imagine it would have been in worse shape if it had been out in the sunlight, but I've tried to keep it closed up in this notebook. There's David Robinson, one of my basketball cards. Then on the back of that card there, you got Barry Bonds. I had traded for this Tony Fernandez. I had traded a Gary Sheffield rookie card for it. Here's one of my older cards, Jack Morris. You can tell it's way off center, but I like the look of it. And being Jack Morris and everything, I end up getting it for not too much. I had sent Dave Durango a Mo Vaughn of one of these type sticker things. I got a few of them. I'm going to start getting into some of the TriStars minor league cards I got. Here's a Roger Clemens with his son. Then Jim Tracy with his. And then Papelbon. I think these were the brothers. Then I got a relic here of a Max Sapp. And then this is one of the bear relics I've gotten, a Roberto Alomar with a White Sox. Cameron Maybin. Tim Lincecum. Gonna kind of show a little bit of my age. This is one of the first relics I ever got. Angel Baroja. Kind of figures he washed out a little bit after I got that card. You'll recognize a few names that have made it to the majors. Seems like these white cards are kind of harder to get in focus than the color type. Jeremy Papelbon. There's Betances before he got his start. There's Mattingly. Just not the Don Mattingly. There's Carlos Carrasco. You'll definitely see some names of some that have made it to the majors. and some not so much. This guy here, he did have a hard case. I had him in one of them top loaders until he did his little stunt with the Cubs and got kicked off. I've noticed this guy here, he's got a YouTube channel now talking about how he was in the minor leagues and all, being in pro ball. It's in his name if you want to look it up. I think Joey Votto is really underrated and gets overlooked a lot of times compared to the others in the majors. Here's Roger Clemens when he was doing a rehab stint. Here's Andrew McCutchen. Here's a guy that passed away. I thought this guy right here was going to be a big-time major leaguer, and then he kind of just faded away. Now I'm out of the TriStars. Now we're going to go to some football and basketball. And there's a little baseball here too. Emmitt Smith. He's got or at least he did. He used to have a card shop in Pensacola. And that whenever he'd score a touchdown or do any accomplishments, he'd save whatever it was, and he'd take it to his card shop and he'd display it in his store. I think he might still have the store, but I'm not for sure since he retired. I think this is a pretty hated man in Kentucky. Thurman Thomas. Here's a Frank Thomas. I've got to get Frank Thomas in there. Being an Auburn guy. Starting to get into a few Mark McGwire's. Some more Frank Thomases. Here's the Juan Gonzalez reverse on it. It's about the only good card you'll find in 90 Donruss. To me, this is about one of the worst sets you can ever get with that awful cursive writing they put on there. Some of the cards you can't even read their names. Here's a Larry Bird Skybox. Some of these, like this Juan Gonzalez, I've got like 2 or 3 in a stack here. I had a friend I grew up with in high school and all, and he ended up playing with him in A-ball for a while, in rookie ball. Played with him and Shannon Stewart. Here's one of my Ken Griffey Jr. pages. And some of these little sleeve pockets have 2 or 3 of each. I really like the way Ken Griffey Jr. played. He looked just like he just really enjoyed the game. I think it kind of took a toll on him in the long run. Towards the end, he looked like he kind of lost some of that joy of it. I can understand that with the media and the way things are going now in baseball. Here's a early card of David Robinson. Troy Aikman. Raul Mondesi. Thurman Thomas. This was a hot card back when I was in 8th grade. Kendall Gill, draft pick. Here's a sports flick of Greg Maddux. That's in them years that he wasn't a Cub. He kind of fell off the face of the earth at that point. And me being here in Braves country. Here's one of the minor league cards. I got a lot of the minor league cards. A lot of these cards. There was a local card shop that opened up. An old gentleman, and he sold about anything you could think of cards. Here's a Trot Nixon minor league card. Now here's one of the cards. I got a couple of them here. General Norman Schwarzkopf. Some of the hockey people might recognize some of these names. Rocket Ishmael. Jeremy Roenick. There's a Michael Jordan. Like I said, this notebook is just mixed with everything. My taste is it's just been mixed up over the years. That I just collected whatever looked interesting on cards and everything. Here's some more Ken Griffey Jr.'s on this page. Chuck Knobloch. I don't think he should have left the Twins. He should have stayed with them. When he left, it seemed like he got the yips trying to throw. There's Matt Susaka. Greg Vaughn, got a couple different variations of him. Some more Ken Griffey Jr.'s. I'm sorry for the way I'm bouncing around and everything, having to go like this. I don't have a tripod or anything, so all these videos I make, it's gonna be handheld. I really like all these Nolan Rhines. This is one that I just said about drawing and sketching for Nolan Ryan sent to him when I was a kid. This is the one that I drew. This is one of those refractors. Deion Sanders. Man, these cards right here, now they were pretty cool. Manny Ramirez, kind of made like a comic book. 88 Maddux. I got a few older cards, not too many. One of the Boones. Here's a Moises Alou. There's about 4 or 5 stacked in there of his minor league card. J.D. Drew. Cliff Lloyd and Damon Buford on that. Some more football. Even though Emmitt Smith was a Florida Gator, he was kind of fun to watch when he was with the Cowboys. I kind of followed them when they got him with the Cowboys. Doug Glanville. Mike Piazza. Going back to some Frank Thomases. Here's Cecil Fielder in 87. Bo Jackson. Old Pete. Robin Ventura. Some people don't realize that Robin Ventura, for a while, I guess he still does, holds all-time hit mark per games in the colleges. Where DiMaggio has MLB, Ventura had it in college. Trying to go as fast as possible so this won't be a super long video. Here's a Javi Lopez minor league card. Here's one of my very rare Canadian Football League Rocket. Andre Reed, Marshall Faulk, Jim Thome rookie card, Derek Jeter league leaders. Some of these pages sometimes stick because they've been in here for so long. Manny Ramirez draft pick. Another chipper. Jamal Mashburn, Kentucky. These are some cards I really did not like, these triple plays. I think that and them going to Series 1 and 2s on about all the brands, that kind of got me out of collecting for quite a while. Used to, you could collect a player, not have to spend endless amounts of money to try to get 100 cards. You didn't have but just maybe 4 or 5 different variations of a guy and brands. Now you gotta be pretty rich to get all of them, or have a lot of connections with baseball people to give them to you, which I don't. Which I wouldn't want people to give me cards like that. The Bash Brothers, or the Juice Boys. Kind of curious, what made, if you don't mind, if it's too personal, you don't have to answer, but what made y'all decide to collect? Was it a certain player or sport? Or one thing got me involved, especially baseball, and more particular when I got in high school, is I always had trouble with math. Here's a Doug Flutie. And then I got involved, I didn't get more involved with the pitchers and the player's name, but the stats. And then I started trying to figure out all the stats, and you got averages and everything like that. And then a lot of the equations they used to come up with averages, it started making sense doing algebra, because you deal with basic equations on some of that. So eventually I got where, by the time I got to junior college, I finally figured it out. Here's a couple of sport flicks I have of Mike Schmidt and Nolan Ryan. Can't really tell them from in this thing. This is a Chan Ho Park of his. Here's another Michael Jordan, Jeff Kent, Michael Jordan USA, or Magic Johnson. Sorry about that. This is a really cool card. Michael Jordan, Larry Bird, kind of set in superhero and a comic strip. I even got some golf cards. Like I said, I pretty much collected about anything I could think of. I wasn't never very good at making friends going through school, so I just escaped my little world here and collecting cards and all, and just study them and as I watch baseball, football. I wasn't really that much into watching basketball. One thing is I could play baseball and football pretty good, but when it came to basketball, I couldn't ever get through the hoops, so I wasn't too good at it. So I didn't really get attached to it as much as I did baseball and football. Only time I like basketball is when somebody try to run into me and I knock them down. John Lieber, he had a really good year once with the Cubs way back. I know a few of these, probably not worth much at all, even having a spot in a notebook and all, but the time I collected them, they were pretty big names, so I just figured I'd keep them in here. It's kind of bring back memories looking at this. Sergei Fedorov, I think that's a draft pick. Michael Jordan. Got some of my Sammy Sosas. Even though he's in the long run now, looking back at him, it's kind of bad that he may have took steroids and everything, but he did do a lot for baseball, especially the Cubs, because there was some really bad teams when he was playing. Some of my favorite years was Sammy Sosa, wasn't when he was hitting 60 home runs. It was before that when he was stealing 30 bases and would hit about 30 home runs. I've always been partial to the ones, kind of like Acuna Jr. now. They had both speed and the power bats. I've got a racing card here. Here's Darrell Earnhardt. Brett Hull. Kerry Wood. Jaromir Jagr. Rod Carew. I never realized he liked that headband so much, Rod Carew. He was just a tiny bit before my time when he was really good. Johnny Bench. Another Michael Jordan. Pedro Estacio. Another Michael. Steve Young. Manny Ramirez, Lance Berkman, Andy Ashby. I really don't care for that Eric Caro, especially now that he's on Fox Sports talking about. Seems like he has a thing against the Cubs. He may not, but here's Shannon Stewart. I had a friend play with. That friend got him to autograph a baseball card for me, but at the time there was a little boy I knew that his parents are kind of going through a difficult time and everything, and I didn't really have much money. So I ended up giving that card to him along with a Shaq rookie card. I figured one day that kid would get to see him and all and have something to look back on. Maybe start him on following baseball. Luis Gonzalez. Dikembe Mutombo. Ed McCaffrey. Jim Thorpe. I'm sorry for the length of this, but kind of hard to show all this. I've got stacks of cards I hadn't looked at in years. Here's a Jeff Gordon rookie card, Busch Grand National. I didn't even realize I had it until about 10 years ago. I went, wow, I didn't even know I had that. There's a Tiger Woods, Richard Petty, Robert Smith. Here's a Derek Lee. Man, don't he look different, especially when he was with the Cubs. He really bulked up once he got going. You might recognize a few of these. Well, that's my